What's going on, everybody? This is Hayden Adams, and in this example I want to show you how you can crop or really resize a panoramic image in Photoshop to then put as a multi-image picture on Instagram. Instagram is really made for squares and not really for panoramics. So we have to do a little cutting and pasting and adjusting and resizing to make this work flawlessly. But what you get as a result, if I pull open my iPhone, which is hopefully right here, there we go, is the result is Instagram is that you have a multi-image series that acts like a panorama. And I'll show you how to do that using Photoshop and Dropbox. Let's get started. In this example, I have to figure out how many squares I have to cut this apart into to then reassemble in Instagram. Now here's my problem. I don't know exactly how many squares this makes up. If I use my marquee tool, I can kind of guess. If I click and drag with holding my shift key down, it makes a perfect square. But then I gotta figure out where the next square is, and the next square is, and the next square is. And I wanna get this perfect. I don't wanna get it close. So the first step we have to do is crop this so it creates a certain number of squares that we can then crop and export into Instagram. So the first thing I wanna do is use my crop tool, or C for crop. And in here, you might have had a different setting by default. I want to choose ratio. And what the ratio is going to do is that I can say a certain number for the width to the certain number of the height. What that's going to do is it's going to make the width whatever number times the height. I'm going to do 5 for my example because I have a lot of extraneous space on the top and bottom. And when I say 5 to 1, I'm going to hit the return key. Then I'm going to draw using my crop tool, click and drag. Now, if you're noticing my crop tool a little different than yours, I also set mine up to classic mode. I'm an old school Photoshop user and I love the classic mode. So for me, I do select the classic mode. So do be aware of that as you're watching this. So what I'm going to do back here is I can click and drag and I can make this fit right about there. That looks perfect. So now I'm going to have 5 squares because I have a ratio of 5 to 1. To lock this in, I'm going to hit the Enter key. And now my project is all set to go to start creating 5 specific images to export out of Photoshop to go into Instagram. All right, now that we have it cropped, let's draw some guides to then prep this for exporting the images. I'm going to use my marquee tool to set up my guides with. M for marquee, or the rectangular marquee tool. From here in the top right, I'm going to hold my shift key down and click and drag until I fit a square on this design. What I'm then going to do is that I'm going to use my rulers. If you don't have your rulers, Command R will toggle rulers on and off. I want to have these because I'm going to draw a guide. I'm going to click on this vertical ruler and it's going to snap right to this square. Since I'm still in my marquee tool, I can drag the marquee over until it snaps on the right hand side. What that's going to do is allow me to draw the guide right here. Now I have 1 square, 2 squares. Let's do it again. So I'll do it a third time. Now I have a 3rd square. Move it over once more. Draw this 4th guide. And if I move this marquee tool just over to the left, it snaps perfectly in place. Once again, with our crop tool, I did a 5 to 1 ratio. Thereby I have 5 images, or the width is 5 times the height. And now I've prepped my file with my 5 boxes ready to go to cut up to then send to Instagram. In our previous video, we looked at ways to create these guides to just ensure we have perfect squares along our entire panorama. In this example, what I want to do is I want to create slices to eventually cut this up into 5 perfect squares. I'm going to go up to View and say Show Slices. Slices is a relatively old technique of slicing up images, but for this purpose, it really does a fantastic job. I'm going to say View, Show, and Slices. And the only thing that's going to change is up in the top left, it's going to say 01. Here's the magic of this technique. What I want to do is I want to click on my crop tool and go down to the Slice Select tool because I want to get this perfect. I'm going to click on 01 and up at the top, it's going to say Divide. What I'm going to do is divide either horizontally or vertically. In this case, I'm going to say divide vertically. I'm going to say how many slices across? Well, that's going to be 5. So if I say 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to say OK. And now I've created 5 perfectly sliced squares that are all set to export out of Photoshop. In our previous video, we looked at ways to create the slices to create 5 perfect squares in this panorama. Now I can't just go up to File, Save, or Save As because slices work in a very unique way. What I have to do is go to File, Export, and Save for Web. Now it says Legacy, but this is one of my favorite ways of exporting images out of Photoshop. Regardless of any layers or whatever else you have over here, it'll flatten your picture and export those slices. So I'm going to say File and Export, Save for Web. And up pops, a pretty big picture. I'm going to hit Command 0 on my Macintosh so it shows the 5 slices. Now what I want to do is I'm going to select all of the slices. So I'm going to select the first one, hold the Shift key down, and click on the squares until I get all 5. What I want to do here is I want to create the preset of PNG 24. That's really the highest quality export we can use within the software to export these 5 pictures out of Photoshop. Mine's taking a few minutes longer, I'm not really quite sure. I'm running a MacBook Pro, but in the interest of this kind of information, you can do JPEG or you can also do PNG. I'm selecting PNG because it is the highest quality output I can possibly have in here. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go down and say Save because it's going to save out these 5 slices. I'm going to click on Save and my name is Lagoon Panorama. You can name this whatever you want, but what it's going to do is it's going to put numbers after the name, making this really easy of an output. Now I said format images only, which is fine. Keep the settings by default and say what slices? All slices. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to say Save. And what this is going to do is this is going to create a series of 5 pictures on my computer that I can then put into Dropbox to then export out into my phone. The result of that is inside my panoramic images, I have an images folder. If I go into this and I go to click on name, I have Panorama 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the magic is Panorama 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Voila! What I have is 5 perfectly cropped, exported squares that I can now put into my iPhone. If you notice these little green little arrows or checkboxes, this is already built into Dropbox. So now I have these pictures ready to be imported into my phone via Dropbox. So if you look at over here, I have Panorama 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're on my computer, but they're also synced up through Dropbox. I'm going to use my phone over here, which is this little screen sharing area right here, And in Dropbox, I have panoramic images and the images folder exactly mirroring what I have right here. On my phone, I'm going to click on images and it shows my 5 pictures. I have to export these out of Dropbox. So I'll start with the first one. Click on the picture. Might take a few seconds to load. There we go. And up in the top right, those 3 dots right there at the very top. And if I click on those 3 dots, up pops a whole bunch of options. I'm going to click on export. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to scroll over till it says save image. And I'm going to export this picture to my phone. There's the first one. Let's scroll sideways or swipe to the left. And if I click on those 3 dots again, what I get is the ability to click on export. And I'll say save image. And now it saves the photo. I will do the same thing to picture number 3. Export, save image, exporting to number 4. Export, save image, rinse and repeat for the last one. Click on those 3 dots on the top, say export, and once again for number 5, save image. Now I have successfully exported these photographs out of Dropbox and into my iPhone. The next step is to launch Instagram and put these into a series of images. Now that I have all 5 pictures in my iPhone, I can now load them up into Instagram. I'm going to create a new Instagram post by using library, and just like that, I have the 5 pictures coming in. So to create a multi-image, I'm going to click on the multi-image area. I'm going to start and go backwards. So I'll click on this one, and then this one, this one, this one, and this one. And so it goes 1 through 5. And when I say next, now I have an Instagram post of this lagoon panoramic, but a series of 5 pictures. And I can write something like, take me back to this beautiful lagoon in the South Pacific. And there we go. Now when I post this and I say okay, and I say share, it's going to post the pictures. And now I have a panorama of 5 pictures of a seamless transition. And voila, we now posted a panorama in Instagram, sliced up through Photoshop, that we can then show our friends and family. Thank you. Were you able to successfully complete this exercise and put up your own multi-image panorama onto Instagram? If so, I'd love to see it. What you can do is using a modern day browser. I'm in Safari on my Macintosh. I have my profile pulled up. Yes, I'm Hayden5. And in there is my multi-image panorama right here in the top left. When I click on it, it shows me the various images of my panorama. I'd love to see what you created. If you can, post the link into the project examples or take a little screenshot. On the Macintosh, you can use Command-Shift-4 to show what you created as a final result of this class. I hope this brings you great joy and you create an amazing design of a multi-image panorama inside of Instagram. Thanks for watching.